the Asia session turn. This is a setup that I came up with almost a year ago. What is the Asia session turn? What are you looking for with the Asia session turn?
Okay, let's go.
First step is to go to a 3-minute chart. Find the 4 p.m. candle. We're looking to see, does it go through it or bounce off of it? And then if it bounces off of it,
order filled.
We want to see a fair value gap form. If a fair value gap forms, we enter on a retracement and we target the high of session like that. If it goes through it, same thing, just a bearish version. We want to see displacement. We want to see a down move, fair value gap form, and then we'd be looking for it to come to this area here. Could go either way. You really don't know until after. Sometimes I front run it. We are futures traders though. We are not Forex traders. So we do not use limit orders. We simply wait to see a reaction. We trade on the right side of price. We don't trade on the left side. So I never put orders in on the left side of price. It's always going to be on the right side of price. We have price going through the 4 p.m. closing price. So it's a bearish Asia session turn here. I recommend once you see it like aggressively push through it, you either drop down or you go ahead and enter, and with small size risking, not very much. Beautiful, right? So that's the Asia session turn there. Price seems to note this line, right? For whatever reason, it seems to really care about the 4 p.m. closing price. I'm still not sure why that is. Your guess is as good as mine. Okay, let's go back to the Apex account that we entered with first. No, let's go back to this. I forgot about this account. So this is definitely one of my A+. God damn it. If it doesn't already get there before I have a chance to enter more. I only have one contract in on that account. And no, I wasn't even in on that account yet. Damn, boy. Called it. So it's going to keep dropping down to that level I pointed out in the live streams. Run it. So this is easy money concepts at its best. Knowing where price will go, when it will go, and how it will go. Sorry guys, I'm getting pumped. This is a good Asia session turn. I haven't seen one like this in a long time. Maybe it's coming back. So all setups like come and go with the market, depending on how the market's acting. This one was like the best setup in the world for almost 6-7 months. And then it kind of went away for a little bit, and now it appears to be back. It's more prevalent in a down market environment for whatever reason. I'm not sure, but it definitely is more prevalent in in that kind of market environment. It is ripping like a mofo here. There, you guys saw it live. What's up? Find another trader that is teaching people like I am like this. I don't know of any. I can't think of a single one that does it like this. Yes, there's a lot of traders that are teaching, but they're not doing it in a live market environment. They're doing back testing. They are showing past examples. It's never in a live market setting because they can't make money with the concept that they're teaching. There's a difference between seeing a setup, able to draw it out, identifying it, and then there's the next level, which is trading it and taking that money out the market, right? Let's go. Let's get that money to the float.
Order filled.
I'm gonna go ahead and add on to this
filled.
4 contracts. Go bigger, go
Order
home,
filled.
baby. When you have an A+ setup like this, you gotta take advantage of it. You gotta capitalize off of it, because this is an opportunity that comes around maybe once, twice every month. An Asia session turn that's this good that I have a clear target. All right, what do we have here? Let's drop down a little bit more. 10-second chart. There we go. Boom, beautiful. So balance, 50% tagged. Yeah, 50% tagged in. Now we just need to see it push down. We'll go ahead and add on 2 more contracts. Boom, 2 more, baby. 5 contracts total, bitches. 6 contracts, let's go. I don't give a fuck. I'm gonna straight pimp with it. I'm about making that. Find me another dude doing this. Find another one, because there isn't any. I gotta scramble to put stops in. Then I'll exit half once it gets down here, which is still 5 points away or so. I might be asking, like, why am I adding on? Because I don't think price is going to there. I think it's going to here, right? Here we go. Here it goes. Woo-wee! Let's get it, guys. Let's go. Asia session turn on fleek. Alright, so I have to start scaling out as it goes there because I have so many accounts that I won't be able to get it all off in time. I want to take one more off. Alright, now I want to go to this one. This one's $600 profits. Let's go. It's likely to pull back to balance here, which is just going to be right there. Ooh, I didn't take off any on that one. That sucks. So you see what I did there? I added on, which allowed me to gather up a lot of the profits out of that because it's trailing drawdown. It's a new funded account. So let's say I had entered with the original 2. All right, let's go. We still have 2 more accounts, not accounts, but companies to scale out with. I do them as importance to me. So woo, look at this, guys. Look at this. Boom. Guys, ain't nobody doing this. Damn, nobody. Almost $1,000 each account. Boom. That's money right there. One more. We got one more here. Let's go ahead and go to it. This one's gonna be big. $600. Let's go. So we're gonna go ahead and take half off, because we're halfway to our target. So we're gonna take half off. We're gonna move our stops down. We cannot forget about these though. It's easy to do when you get in the moment. You're like, oh, I'm trading, blah, 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 and then forget about them. So we're not gonna do that though. So we're looking for a push down here. We're not looking for a pop. We don't want a pop. We already had our push up. We do not want to see a pop here, because a pop could lead to up to here and then the drop, the next leg down. We want to see a drop into the 50% of this balanced area. So I'll go to 3 minute and I'll show you guys what's up. It looks like we might be getting a pop here. We'll have to see what it does. So check it, guys. Nobody else doing this. You guys are out here running around learning the most complicated concepts known to man. I know because I spent 2 years of my life learning it, guys. You got to realize I'm not talking shit. That's not what I'm doing. I'm not talking shit on SMC. SMC is great, but there is a better way, an easier way. And how do I know this easier way? Because I went through SMC. I traded SMC. And this here is why you scale the fuck out. So we got the pop. Let's drop down. Let's go ahead and add one more onto each of these. This is new live accounts. We're not going to go crazy like I was before. That was because I was 100% certain where it was going. There was no doubt in my mind. Now there's a doubt. There she goes. All right, let's go ahead and add on full size here, 2 contracts. We're in full size here. Let's go out of here. That's my main, one of my top main Asia strategies. It doesn't show up every day. It's not like an everyday strategy. It's more like once, twice a week it's going to show up. But when it shows up, it's going to deliver. Tonight we had a 10-hour trade, something like that. Let's look here. So we entered about here at 68. Stop would have went at 70. It went from 68. So it's a 7-hour trade. So that when it shows up, it's going to give you a 7-hour trade. Is it 100% win rate? No, of course not. But is it well over 60%? Yes, definitely. Is there some nuances to it? All right, so here we are. I was actually editing the video and then it just keeps going. So I thought I would, finish out the video here. Okay, and then I've already scaled out a whole bunch of this. So another 525 on there, really racking up the money here. And then I'm also trading with the live account that I showed earlier. So I can only make in the take profit accounts, I can only make certain amount per day, which I'm probably already hitting close to that on some of these accounts. Just straight killing it here. Let's go ahead and go to Top Step. Boom, another $500 there. So I'm gonna take 3 out of 5 off. Let's go back to the live account here. So this is good. Now let's figure out where is the next place of balance that qualifies as an area of interest. Personally, I think it's going to be from here to here. I think price probably will bounce right here. Actually, it should bounce right at the top of here, so which it's already doing. Sometimes it pulls all the way back, sometimes it continues going in that direction. It all depends on the day, and it's continuing here. So huge trades here. Yes, that's about $700 in this live account. Let's go to this other live account here with Bullnox. 700. Boom, easy money. And then we have these top step accounts here, which are probably going to be passing one of these here. Not quite. So I'm going to take one more off here because professional traders, what do they do? What do they do, guys? If you've been following me, you know the answer to this. They scale out. I do not know of a single profitable trader that does not scale out. And if they say they don't scale out and are claiming profit, they're profitable, I would ask for proof, honestly. I really would, like, no joke, because the chances of that are like pretty low. So no, so this is the last area here. There's another smaller one in here we'll highlight just in case. It's probably not going to be the big green one since it never got a bounce out of there. Let's go ahead and mark that off, and then we'll just leave the 50% of the doji on there where that's at. It's right there. Huge Asia session turn here. Started from there. Let's see if you would have held it. How many points would you have gotten so far? Whew. Nice, 30 points. Huge move. I want you to ask yourself something. Other than me, do you know of another trader that creates his own strategies that fucking work and aren't just taking ICT strategies? But this is 100% mine. The only part that I am grabbing from ICT or anyone else is the fair value gap entry. But as you saw today, I didn't even use the damn fair value gap entry because I would have been late. That's the problem with ICT's concepts, is you're always fucking late to the game. The only one you're not late to the game is the breaker and the turtle soup. But both of those, you need a entry criteria with them. Just ask yourself, is there another trader doing what the fuck I'm doing? No, there's not. Push down here, big fucking money, let's go. All right, because I have 6 accounts, 6 live accounts here, and they're really the ones that matter, I'm gonna go ahead and start exiting these. I'm not gonna be greedy. I'm gonna take my fucking $1,000 tonight and fucking run with it. I made $6,000 tonight, guys, with the Asia session turn. There is no one else doing this, man. I keep saying in this video because I'm so sick of being slept on, man. Usually I edit this part out, but tonight I'm not gonna fucking edit it out because I'm sick of being slept on. You guys, there's more people following fucking Romeo than me. Like, imagine being me. I create unique strategies. I live stream pretty much every day. I trade live. I post my payouts. I answer questions on stream. I fucking am helping so many people at such a high level. A level that you should honestly be paying $1,000 for a month. I'm doing that all while Romeo's bitch ass post a fucking blank picture a day. He's like this. What do you guys see? And yes, imagine being in my shoes and seeing that. That's the he helped me spread this around. So I'm gonna go ahead and exit here. I feel like this is a good spot. Just go ahead and exit the trade. A lot of profit. No reason to be greedy here at all. I'm about to pass it. This one, I'm gonna go ahead and enter 1 contract each. I'll add more on, obviously, if it goes my way. I missed the add-in to add in more accounts. Let's go to that top step account that I've passed now. Yeah, 53,281. Let's go to this one. We'll go ahead and buy 3 contracts here. That one's only got $100 to go. That one's done. This one's got quite a few to go, but we go ahead and buy that back. Profit target hit. I'm not going to hold on to this in the funded accounts. I didn't even want to really take this trade, but it set up perfectly as it went into balance there. 50% of that balance there beautifully. You've been following me last 4 days. You guys have been seeing me slay the market. I'm doing one model, one setup every single time. There's another 370. I'll keep one of these on here. I was in a little bit of drawdown when I came into today, so I did not enter with these 2 for some reason. Oh man, rough. I think with This other Top Step account here, I should be close to passing it. It's a 100K account. I need 900 more dollars. Looks like I'll have to do that tomorrow sessions, and I can still make that in this session. Let's go and take 2 of these off. We'll leave a runner here. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, it's the third push. I'm gonna go ahead and exit out. $1,500, 3 with 14 accounts, so 14 times 1,500, $21,000 totally made tonight. Obviously, a lot of this is evaluation money and not real, but 6 of those are cash money. $9,000 made tonight alone. Would $9,000 change your life? Like, obviously, yeah, it would. Want to learn more about how I trade like this? You're going to want to go to this channel here, which is the EMC, Jared King Trading. EMC stands for Easy Money Concepts. Instead of SMC, I focus not on smart money concepts, but more of like easier money. I want that easy money, the easy money out of the market, the low stress, the low risk, the high reward, simple, but extremely profitable concepts. Want to follow me and subscribe, and then check out my live streams. This Asia session turn just keeps hooking it up, like Jesus Christ. I keep editing the video and then I'm having to come back, and because it just keeps hooking it up and it keeps delivering these amazing simple trades to catch. Like, it's just my model to the T over and over and over again. So what's my model? Find 3 candles in a row out of balance, highlight the balance, look for halfway to be reached into, enter short like a G, and then that's it. That's my fucking model. I made more profit doing this model with on top of like the Asia session, using this as my like main staple model for scaling in and out and entering, and where price is going, where it's reversing. Then I have traded any SMC concept by far, or any other strategy I have. I took small size on this trade here because I feel like I'm being a little bit greedy, but the market keeps just serving it up. So when the market keeps giving it, you gotta take it. Got all my live accounts over the $1,000 mark in profit. My goal is in yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and exit these live accounts here because I had some bad trading that went on about a week ago. Not really poor trading for 9 days straight, which resulted in my live accounts, pretty much all of them being blown. I went in, Apex had their deal, and that's right here. I went ahead, because you only need 1 day to pass, so on Monday I passed 6 live accounts with 80% off. It's $35 per 50K account evaluation. I bought like 12 of them, passed half of them. Now my goal is at least $4,000 profit. I'm a quarter of the way there on day 2. That's my goal. If you want to get funded, like right now with Apex, right? It's 1 day to pass, right? So you only need 1 day to pass. You're paying $37 a 50K account. And then after 10 trading days, I can request my payout. So $2,000 per 50K account. That's $10,000 in 2 weeks. There's nothing else you guys can do in this world that in 2 weeks is going to allow you to make $10,000 other than maybe Take Profit Trader, which they have payouts from day 1 with no restrictions, no consistency rules. Just pass, get your live account, and rack it up. Or Bullnox has a little bit better of a payout schedule, but they're not from day 1. Bullnox right now, 90% off. You're looking at $14 a 50K account, but you have to trade it for 5 days during the evaluation phase, and then you have the 10 days before your first payout. Apex right now is, other than Take Profit Trader, is your quickest option. So I'll put the link to my website in there, and since you guys watched until the end and are my dudes, I'm gonna hook you guys up with a giveaway as soon as I go ahead and enter along here. Now check me on this. Like, if you watch this video, look back. What is today? The 19th. If you watch this later, look back and see if price goes up here. Like, does it go like this? It does. I guarantee you it does.